let's look at love of goals, which then leads to a more mature form of bhakti, and I would call it I don't know a word for it, but I would call it, let's call it mature bhakti. So the individual recognizes the divine symbol, Guru and God, both as a means of life and a goal of life. So they seek spiritual goals like security and happiness and inner contentment by acknowledging that these can be found through devotion of God. These cannot be found through devotion in any other relationship. Not even found in Guru through a relationship with the Guru as a person. I'm talking more about the Guru principle of wisdom and knowledge. So it's definitely a step closer to understanding divine love, but it is still tied to the pursuit of emotional security, emotional happiness, emotional contentment, which are then in brackets tied to worldly concerns. So we're kind of using God as a therapist to pacify our unfulfilled desires and ambitions for house, child, lover, bank account. And we want emotional rewards as an inner contentment and peace. And it's definitely a step in the right direction. And a lot of my teachings do kind of end here. This is it. This is what we get from some of our meditations on Lakshmi or Durga or Saraswati and things like that, because it's definitely better to have the divine as an emotional crutch than to clutch at your mother-in-law or your best friend who will gossip about you, or your partner who will hold your mistakes, to their heart and repeat them to you. It's not this situation of not being able to find an anchor in the world of relationships is a surprise to people. But the Vedas already say that there is no, you're clutching to waves, and waves don't give solid support. You need to find the raft of bhakti. And definitely there's nothing wrong with seeking emotional support. And till this day, if my heart is restless, I'll be at my altar saying, Ma, give me courage. Ma, I surrender my issues to you. So this is a very much place, but we want to understand that there is a higher potential here, right? The highest. So while this second, more mature bhakti begins calming and purifying our heart and is a necessary step towards even further unconditional bhakti, when we love the divine as we love the self, then, or we love the self as we love the divine, then that's a whole nother level that we're now going to enter. And this is the third or the highest form of bhakti, and I would call it liberating bhakti, or I will call it the yogic bhakti. This is not just ritualistic bhakti. This is not just going to the divine for things, the first one, or to figure out not just the second as a psychotherapist, but the third one. When we experience love for the divine as an extension of self-love, then we may not have a ask. It may be a wordless, meditative experience to worship the divine. And you will feel this closeness and connection with the divine. It's like you're touching the divine, like Ma Durga is there. But now you don't need to ask Ma Durga to give you anything. physical or virtual. It's like, because because if you have the self, it's all you need. Imagine if you almost fell down a cliff and then you didn't. You're just grateful to have you. You're just grateful to have you. And you are the closest part of you. So when you start developing that kind of connection with the divine, which is purely motivated by the love. And so now, say you have a deity, and that's just my culture speaking. You may have a candle, you may have a book, depending on what your culture has prepared you to view the divine. That's fine. But say I have a deity, and just looking at the deity makes me still, because I can experience the inward bliss of myself. And then if I am giving flowers to the deity, or if I am cleaning the deity's altar, it's from love. It's from love. And I think the purest love comes of a mother with her infant, where the mother is looking after the baby, and the baby doesn't really need can give her back anything, maybe a sense of satisfaction. Mostly the baby is taking at that time, the newborn baby, but the mother just loves the baby. Why? Because it's an extension of the self, the extension of the self. And when we are in that state of yogic bhakti, or I don't know what name I gave it. We'll have to figure out names for this part. Maybe Shani will do that. But when we are in that advanced state of unconditionally loving bhakti, then we become one with it. And when we become one with it, the god, the goddess in the Vedic understanding is transcending the world of birth and death. It's called samsara. They are transcending it. They are beyond it. And as a result, I don't know if we have journeyed outwards in our consciousness to join them, or if we have gone inwards in our consciousness for that to join this. But in that state of bhakti, we become elevated and divine, infinitely happy, without pointing out a list of things that we need fulfilled and a list of things that we need comforting. We become secure unto ourselves. So basically, the sovereign self is the fruit of this level of bhakti. And this love is enough. The divine is enough. I am enough. There is not a list attached with this love. Just like, imagine, and we must have all had those moments when and I'm giving an example from human secular love, but say you love someone deeply and you've not seen them for a long time, and then they show up on your horizon, and then you have no words. You're not going to say, what did you bring me? You're just there, appearing on the horizon will put you in a state of bliss. And you can't tell if the bliss is outside or inside. And honestly, when we go into that divine yogic, love that Radha had for Krishna, Radha was Lord Krishna's girlfriend. The love she had for Krishna was this yogic advanced love. And that's why, and in fact, all the women had all the women of the village in which he was growing up as this beautiful kid, and then this gorgeous teenager, and then this handsome as handsome could be young adult. All the men and women had this third level of love for him. And so things didn't get done in Vrindavan. The women would be cooking and they'd go into a trance. They would be washing dishes and they'd wash the dishes forever. And it is sad that they became, because he was a cowherd, and he would take the cows to herd them. And so many of them became trees of the Vrindavan just to be with him. So it's the very high state of divine expression of oneness. And one attains spiritual liberation through this superior bhakti that breaks a cycle by redirecting one's love and devotion, whole and soul, towards the divine. Not even for a desire for, I want to go into trance. Not even with a desire for, wouldn't it be wonderful if I had a spiritual liberation? Why? Because it's love. And love is enough. And love is not based on things and desire fulfillment, physical or mental. Love is love. And it's so beautiful that Lord Krishna says, and next time I'll say some more about what Lord Krishna says, but he says, all your efforts at bhakti are great, even if they are tainted with some selfishness in the beginning and neediness in the middle. It's fine. It's a step towards me in this otherwise muddy, confusing, crazy making samsara. So this must not be judged or scorned, but understood compassionately. And then the seekers who come to a Vedic teacher be guided, that you can grow in your divine love. Because then when we get this wisdom, then we realize that they start somewhere. Because if we didn't go to the divine at any of the levels, then we would still be suffocated or screaming and stressed in our samsara world. But at least we have now bhakti, divine love. So with that, I end my discourse, and I welcome your comments, questions on this topic. I would also like to maybe ask you to take a minute or two, just close your eyes and just sit with this, allow this knowledge to wash over you. That if love can be a liberating factor, if love is enough, then can you bring that love for the divine as inseparable from your own self? Just be with this, and how simple it is to grow into this love. And while it's still thoroughly fair to bring your object need or emotional need to the divine, how wonderful if you could grow deeper. That's why when little Krishna, and then as he grew, he loved playing the flute, and then as he would, sometimes just for fun, he would start playing the flute, and all the women and men would leave all their work and go running to the forest because they heard the flute. But not everyone heard the flute in Vrindavan. So they said, "Hey, how come you're not doing your work?" Because they didn't hear that magical call. And so the invitation is to transcend the world in your bhakti, transcend your neediness in bhakti. Shift the focus from worldly desires and unfulfilled concerns to pure love in bhakti. It is my belief that this satsang will support you in your shraddha, because the word shraddha and bhakti are so connected. In fact, next time I'll share with you a verse of the progression of bhakti into shraddha. And the goal of Advaita Vedanta and non-dual teachings that I am the teacher of from my lineage mainly, our goal is definitely to change our dependence pattern from the world to first God. So that's okay. If you bring your needs and your desires and your security concerns to God, and then from God to self. So the only thing is we can watch out for if we have an exclusive relationship with God that way. Who was that person sharing this? In one of my classes, or one of my students shared with me, or was it in public, but she shared how sometimes going to the temples in India, it can be so noisy and so like a celebratory situation, which is good, but everybody's muttering away their desires, you know. But perhaps a yogi who is in love with the divine would close their eyes and all the desires would show up to be these dreadful illusions in Maya, in this dreamlike world, just keeping us forever unfulfilled, whereas our contentment is present now. That is why it is said that Goddess Lakshmi is, who is she? She is the one who is content, and she makes her highest devotee what? Content.